Now moving on to the storyline of the Harfoots, the Proto-Hobbits, in the wilderness of Rovanion. They show that on the map. It's the wilderness kingdoms. It's not really described in detail. It's all of the lands south of southern Mirkwood, but above where Mordor is. Even in the Third Age, the brown lands and the desolation and stuff eventually gives way to grasslands and shrubland and stuff. That there are human kingdoms in Rovanion. It just doesn't go into that much detail. And it's clearly wild in this time. Now, up till now, I've been talking about storylines that were interconnected through viewpoint characters. That you started in Lindon with the High Elves, you see Galadriel and Elrond talking. Then Galadriel goes off and does her own thing, I'll talk about that later. And Elrond goes to Khazad-dûm. From a TV standpoint, you see this same set of characters moving around. Then it just cuts to the Harfoots and then the Southlands, and there aren't linker characters. That's hard to do, and like I said, they were smart to keep the map on screen to orient the audience. Like, even the Southlands, they mention, hey, we got a letter from orders filtered down the chain of command from Gil-galad. The elves apparently have a chain of command up to the High King. The Harfoots are utterly unconnected from the rest of the story. And how did they juggle that? And I think they did a pretty good job of connecting everything, even this. That's one of the little things I smiled at, that when we cut to, of the three main storylines, the High Elves, which then branches off into Galadriel going to Numenor, Elrond going to Khazad-dûm, we knew that. How do you connect the other ones? Well, the elves talk about Gil-galad and the Southlands. With this, I like that they had little points where that it starts with, they kept showing that in the promo photos, the two human hunters, and it's nothing, they're just some hunters. That what sparks the story is the Harfoots going, wow, human hunters are here out of season? That looking at their star charts, and when this is out of season, and the little thing where Eleanor Nori goes, hey, you wonder if there might be trouble in the south that's driving human tribes north to where we are? Which, of course, we know is what's happening because that there's evil rising in the Southlands, but just little things that they can do in dialogue to connect things together, the ripple effect of, yeah, there is trouble in the South, that she wonders, is something happening in the South that everyone's fleeing in migrations north or something? And that happens in real life, the ripple effect of migrations, that like, the Slavs were fleeing from the Huns, so the Germanic tribes are fleeing from the Slavs. The pressure put on by waves of migration from Central Europe, that, there's like three waves behind this, is the group that's really driving the rest of us. That's how migrations work in real life, but that was fun how they interconnected that. As for the Harfoots in general, as I've said in the books, there are three tribes of Proto-Hobbits living in the Vales of Anduin. The Harfoots are the farm country ones. Then there's the Fallowhides, who are the woodsman hobbits, the proto-hobbits, the huntsmen. And then you have the Stoors, who are the fisher from riversides. They don't go to the ocean, but the fishermen proto-hobbits, who are barely even hobbits because they're not very hobbity. They have beards, they wear shoes. They're not real hobbits, but point is, we don't see the Fallowhides in Stoors here, and I do wonder if they will come in a later season. I don't know. But right now we're dealing with the Harfoots, and that was one nice thing also, showing on the map that they're in Rovanion. Because I've been dealing with this with people in the comment sections pestering me this whole time. Oh yeah, but the Ancestral Hobbits, why are we dealing with these tribes here who are like this? As you know, in the Vales of Anduin, you had the Harfoots, the Fallowhides, the Stoors, and all this. This is thousands of years before they were even in the Vales of Anduin. Basically, the Shire was founded about 1400 years before the time of Bilbo and Frodo. And it was in about 2,000 years ago, the hobbits migrated to Bree land, around where Bree is, and then from Bree they went to the Shire. And they said, near as we can... This is all in the prologue to Lord of the Rings. There's this essay concerning hobbits, and it says, we think their ancestors lived in the upper tributaries, the upper vales of the River Anduin, the river that they ride down in Lord of the Rings. This is above that, and it's around where Beorn lives in the Hobbit movies. Same river. That you start at Beorn. If you went on a boat down from where Beorn is, you'd get to Lothlorien, and then they go on from there to the waterfalls and everything. So around where Beorn later lived, they said that we can kind of tell that in that northern region, the hobbits were living in and around there. Plus, and like the Falahides were closer to Mirkwood because they were forest huntsmen, and they lived further north. But that's like the earliest memory they have that they call it the Wandering Days, their migration period. And like all the other peoples in Middle-earth, like the Edain and all the other groups migrated west through, and Tolkien even worked this out, that, okay, this tribe of the Edain must have lived near the southern part of the Sea of Rhûn for a while, but then moved on. That you can't migrate through the forest, so Rovanian is a natural migration pathway. Because otherwise you have to go too far north, because Mirkwood is a really big block to anything east-west, and you have to go really, no one has ever really migrated around the northern end. And Mordor blocks it with mountains, even if Sauron wasn't there yet. People tend to migrate through Rovanian to get anywhere. And then you decide whether you're going north up the Anduin, or over the mountains, or through Rohan to get to Beleriand and everything else. I'm expanding on that a lot, but the point is, no, this is what I thought from the interviews. They said, oh no, this is thousands of years before they were even in the Vales of Anduin, which they were in the Vales of Anduin in the mid-Third Age, like 2,000 years before Frodo's time. And that was still like a good 1,000 years into the Third Age when they started doing that. This is like 2,000 or 3,000 years before that Second Age. They're showing, let's check in on what the Proto-Hobbits are doing. So we were wary of that when news first came about this back in October, and we said, yeah, okay, you could check in on what are they doing. I actually think they did a pretty good job with this. I've been just giving general thoughts on all of this. That the big point I have here is the Harfoots are cute, but they handled it very deftly and used them sparingly. That is the point of this video. They were smart enough to use them sparingly. That if you actually look at the physical raw screen time they have, it isn't a lot. That they're smart enough to keep it short and sweet in short bursts. And I would argue this is a vital thing for pacing reasons. You know, in Shakespeare terms, you need your Falstaff. That you need your Merry and Pippin to be the comic relief to break up the heavy scenes with all the heavy, wrought, elvish dialogue. They would then quickly intercut to like an interlude, a little thing with the Harfoots, then cut back. You need to do that for pacing reasons. And that they were smart enough not to overdo it. And it is an edge of my seat of please don't overdo this, and they didn't. That was pleasant. Just in general. I'm treating the Meteor Man thing as something separate. I'm going to get to that at the end. But okay, what were the Hobbit ancestors doing in this time period? I thought they worked it out pretty well. That they're migrating, so they're semi-nomadic. All this it's clearly based on the prologue. It's extrapolating from what little we have. And I wouldn't say it contradicts anything. They're migrating, that they don't live in holes. A lot of this was visual storytelling, but that is a thing. That, they live out of carts, like Romany carts, and they'll plop them down and make camp for months at a time, but they're following where the fields are fertile. And if there's danger, or if there's a crop failure, they'll migrate somewhere else where the fields are better, just to keep moving. Because they can't stay in one place for very long if it gets too dangerous. And just that whole intro scene, where they show their camouflage, that they have this entire camouflage semi-nomadic camp where they've circled the wagons, and they've got camouflage nets over all the carts, and the leaves and twigs in their hair looked kind of weird in promo shots. I went, this is camouflage, right? That you see they have bigger camouflage hats. That it makes sense in context, that opening where you slowly see that the field is actually full of them, and it says in the prologue, they're too small to really fight, so they got good at hiding. And you just visually, you see they're hiding their livestock in hollowed out logs, that That was a really cool sequence. I normally criticize visual storytelling, but it was really creative, showing this is how they hide. So that was all great. Characterizing them, it could have gone cute and parody because hobbits are a trope. The actress is actually really good. Markella, who plays Eleanor Brandyfoot, she was great. Um, Poppy was also great. I think was her friend. Sadok Burrows is Lenny Henry. I remember him from Chef, of course, where he's really angry and yelling at everyone. But he was great as the elder guy. Who they don't have Elvish writing yet, but he's got like star charts so he can find out what season they should be doing things in. He was generally nice. He wasn't in a. They weren't in a lot. They used them just enough to go, hey, there's human hunters, and hey, you think there's something weird going down south that's driving people north? What's going on here? All of that. So I was worried it would be intrusive, and generally it was just, this is the Merry and Pippin scenes out of Lord of the Rings. Like, take Two Towers. Merry and Pippin aren't in that much of it. But they cut away now and again to break up the parts where Aragorn is fighting in Helm's Deep, or Frodo's going through the hellscape of Mordor, of the lands leading up to the Black Gate. So this is the Merry and Pippin thing. It's not over the top. The characters are generally I haven't had a good feel for the Harfoots yet, but I thought they were okay. This is, if you read Concerning Hobbits, tell me in the comments you've read Concerning Hobbits. This is what I think the Second Age Harfoots were probably like before they even reached the Vales of Anduin. So, then if you are unaware, for all the new folk, when they were in the Vales of Anduin, the Upper Anduin, that's where they settled around the same time that the ancestors of the Rohirrim also lived there before they went to Rohan. And because the Rohirrim speak Old English, the Hobbits picked up Old English. Though later when they moved to the Shire, they picked up common speech, but like in the books, it's cool that Merry points out that like, when he's hearing them speak the Rohan language in Rohan Rohirric, he goes, wow, like, a lot of the words you say sound like old archaic words my grandfather would say or something, or like smial or madam for knick-knack, just little things here and there that even a non-linguist could tell. Your language sounds a lot like old place names we have. That it mutated over time, over the centuries, but that's how they got the name Hobbit. And Tolkien worked this out backwards, but Hobbit is derived from Old English Holbitla, which, slurred, you can see how Holbitla, hole builder, that the Rohirrim called them hole builders, Holbitla in their language, and it's slurred to Hobbit. But he explains that that's in universe, that's where the name Hobbit comes from. They're called the Hole Builders. But the Harfoots are not hole builders yet. That they're living out of carts disguised as stuff. They're living close to the land. All of this was nice. I keep wondering if we're going to see the Fallowhides in season 2 or something, and just go, oh, and they might not use the name Fallowhide. They have the rights to it. Just, oh, hi, we're the Fallowhides. We're the forest tribe. You're the farmer tribe. Keep waiting for that. We haven't seen that much, and I thought it was nice. But moving on to the Meteor Man stuff, which that's just the end of episode 1. It's really what dominates episode 2. Okay, I'm 90% he's Gandalf. Like, really 90%. 99%, in fact. Because, he's Gandalf before he was Gandalf. Because Gandalf, it's weird, I wonder if people only saw the movies would not know this, that Gandalf is not a human. He's literally an angel. He's a Maya. He's one of the Maya, a Maya spirit of the archangels are the Valar. Below them are the regular angels who are Maiar. Gandalf and the other wizards are literally angels who have taken human form to interact with people. The thing in the book where he lists off, well, the dwarves call me Tharkun. In the north, I'm called Gandalf, but it's just a nickname. It's not my real name. The elves call me Mithrandir for Grey Wanderer, but Olorin I was in my youth in the west that is forgotten. That oh, his real name was Olorin. Then you read the Silmarillion, and there's just like one, he's not in it a lot, but there's one thing where it's listing off Maiar, and it goes, and wise among them was Olorin, that spirit who often went out in the world and filled people with courage and hope, but they didn't know where their inspiration came from. Or something like that he's out and about, but not directly interfering. That's, I'm pretty sure this is Olorin. But this is a massive invention that they said he was doing things in Middle-earth before he took on the Gandalf guys. And there's room to play around with that. I mean, it's invention, but they mention he was doing stuff. What's weird is that I've seen other people point out that the words he says, that he can't talk, he has to learn their language, that he says mana and ure, which I think that it's a question of, I don't know if they made a translation mistake or if I did or both, but he's saying like holy and heat, mana ure, and I wonder if that's trying to be, holy heat, like secret fire, flame imperishable. The Holy Spirit, it's Gandalf's whole thing of I am a servant of the secret fire, is the secret fire is what they call the Holy Spirit. Because again, there's the Judeo-Christian god Eru is active and present in Middle-earth, and he set up the Council of Archangels called the Valar to rule over the world and the Maiar under them. So Gandalf perceived the Creator directly. He's a minor angel, he's just a regular angel, he's not a particularly high-ranking one, but he's a angelic spirit who perceived the Creator, and he is a servant of the Creator and the Creator's Holy Spirit. That this whole thing that, let me bring out the chart, I guess, that servant of the secret fire, the holy fire, the flame imperishable, the Holy Spirit, that there can't be life without God, that things are imbued with life by Eru breathes the flame imperishable into them, the flame of creation, which of course is the Holy Spirit. So that's why Morgoth and Sauron had to make orcs by mutating and magically mutating and cursing and corrupting captured elves that they can't create. Because Morgoth lusted after light but created only darkness. He rebelled against heaven. He's their Satan figure because he wanted to seize the flame imperishable for himself, which is impossible because the flame imperishable dwells with Eru alone amidst the firmament. I've been over this. So, servant of the flame imperishable, the Holy Spirit, the secret fire. I think he's trying to say secret fire, but that's just a guess, because maybe their translation is wrong, or maybe mine is. Also, this guy's clearly a Maya, whether he's Gandalf or not. People are just wondering, is he Sauron? Is he a demon? Is he Tom Bombadil? Is he one of the Blue Wizards? I'm 99% he's Gandalf. I like that when he tries to speak, it's just like an overwhelming noise. I do think that is a book reference, because they mention that, well, the Valar speak angel, right? Valorin. That the Valorin angelic language is not Elvish, but it says even the elves who love language, when they tried to talk to, when the Valar first spoke to them, these angelic beings that came to them, it terrified them, that the awesome power of their angelic voices was overwhelming and terrifying. The power within their voices when they spoke the Valoran language, and they had a language, it was just overwhelming power. So over time, the Valar switched to, they learned Elvish as soon as they could, and then they just speak to the elves in Elvish, because they said it's overwhelming when you reveal your full power speaking with your angelic voice, right? As you would expect from literally the speech of angelic beings. Okay, it's the Metatron thing. From Jay and Silent Bob, where he goes, I'm the Metatron, that regular people have difficulty feeling the awesome power of the angelic language, of God and stuff. Same thing. So that is a thing in the book, that hearing Valorin is overwhelming, even for elves. That the raw power in it, spiritual power. That when Meteor Man tries to speak, it's like this overwhelming hurricane of noise, and the trees are bending. I think that's a reference to that, and regardless of what Maya spirit he is, good or evil, I think that's what they're referencing. A little point here. I don't know if the show did this on purpose, where they go, wow, the impact site of the meteor is instantly cold. Some people said that's supposed to be a sign that he's evil. I don't think so, because that's what real meteors do. Okay, in the comments, who here is familiar with the works of H.P. Lovecraft? This is how I know this. That if you've ever read The Color Out of Space, that Lovecraft was actually interested in the study of meteors for a while. So he had amateur knowledge that when you're reading the introduction to The Color Out of Space, and professors come from Arkham University to go, wow, this is a very unusual meteor because X, Y, and Z, here's normal things meteors do, and they run a series of mineral tests on it. They're real mineral tests. They're real thing. Lovecraft knew some stuff about, amateur astronomer stuff about meteors. So that is accurate when you're reading Color Out of Space. It says real meteors, normal meteors, all their heat burns off on impact. That when you go to an impact site, the meteor is not hot. And what confused them about the alien meteor in Color Out of Space is why is it still burning hot? That's not normal. So that's how I learned indirectly that, oh yeah, that's a real thing. Meteors dissipate all their heat on impact. So it wouldn't be burning. So some people thought that was a sign he's evil. I think that's just what normal meteors do. But do the writers know that? Or it's possible the writers didn't know that and intended it to be a sign he's evil? I don't think so. I do like, even if it's a bit heavy-handed, that they're bringing up with Meteor Man that the issue of providence, that Nori wonders if, was I meant to find him? I know it sounds weird, but I feel like, was I meant to find him? Or was, maybe I'm not special, maybe he was meant to find me. But I get a feeling this was something. And that's a key theme throughout Tolkien, and he doesn't hit you over the head with it, but the theme of divine providence, that the Judeo-Christian God exists. He's a staunch Catholic, a devout Catholic, and characters refer to it as fate or perhaps luck that they meet, but it is the will of God who just works indirectly and quietly, but things do happen. The whole Bilbo was meant to find the ring as you were meant to carry it. There are forces at work in the world beyond the will of evil. It was fate. They mean God. They mean divine providence. A bit more prominent at the end of the third Hobbit movie, where Gandalf flat out says, oh, you really think it was luck? You don't believe in prophecy just because you took part in it? That he is directly referencing the concept of divine providence. That this wasn't chance meeting and luck, that we all met each other, and that the arrow just managed to miss you, and then I met you the next day. Basically, God came down from heaven and stopped the bullets. That's why we're still alive. It was divine intervention, divine providence is what we're dealing with here, due to his staunch Catholic faith. So I like, it's a little heavy-handed, but then again, you need to be heavy-handed for audiences who aren't familiar with the source material, that bringing up the issue of, that was it providence that he happened to be with them? That of all people, that these Harfoots, Nori and Poppy, stumbled across this Meteor Man guy. And again, I'm pretty sure it's Gandalf, and he's acting all amnesic, and he doesn't know how to speak their language, because he's an angel that just incarnated into the corporeal form. So the whole fleshy experience of our flesh existence in the material thing, he's kind of overwhelmed. It's like having a stroke. That it's this whole other sensory overload that he's getting used to. So I see that, but that could be the same even if he's evil, some evil character. I'm not sure. But I get that he's not an elf, he's not a person, not a man, and we'll see where they're going with that. I'm leaning towards Gandalf. But the other thing is, you have to step back and realize, this isn't real, this is made by writers, and sometimes writers do fake-outs. That, based on the available evidence, it looks like the writers are trying to lead us towards suspecting this is Gandalf. However, I wouldn't put it past the writers to do a fake-out, or even a double fake-out. You can never tell with writers, because it's hard when you're trying to anticipate Hollywood writers these days of, maybe they're not good writers. That I hate it when I do this as a TV show where you go, oh, this guy should have sat the Iron Throne at the end. That doesn't mean you were wrong if it didn't happen, or oh, that guy should have been the murderer. It's bad writing if you... A lot of people think, no, the murderer should have been that other guy. This is just bad storytelling. So, we're not wrong for suspecting this is Gandalf. The question is this a double fake out, or not? And it won't be, oh, we tricked you. It's okay that they want us to think it's him, probably is him, because I don't think they'd want to go too complex with this for a general audience. And could Gandalf have been in Middle-earth thousands of years? Well, he was when he was Olorin. He wasn't in his Gandalf fleshy disguise yet as an old man giving out advice in a humble form. You see, you can't have, what's it called, a vulgar display of power. That's what they tried the first time in the First Age with the Valor coming directly, and it didn't work. That it's you come as this humble old man giving advice. Indirectly is the way to get people to listen. You don't appear before them in a glorious form. That directly intervening only leads to trouble. You have to go through wisdom, not strength. I digress, but the Harfoots I was really worried would be terrible, and they were pleasant. I had no problems. I mean, the one sentence I could have given in this is, the show handled them very well by using them sparingly and in short bursts, and they're cute. If you showed Merry and Pippin clips out of context to someone who hadn't seen Two Towers yet, they think it was a terrible movie, not realizing, well, no, these are the comedic moments to balance out the other moments. They're actually pretty short. So, I mean, it's only 2 episodes in. I'm not emotionally attached to them yet, but they were all pleasant. I want to see more. I like a lot of the visual stuff of working out that they're this migrating tribe, like Bronze Age tribe, and they have this whole society there. And I look forward to seeing more of that. And the Meteor Man thing is a separate thing. We'll see where that goes. How long have I been ranting here? Okay, so I've already covered the dwarves, and I've covered the Harfoots with Meteor Man. And I thought it was impressive that, they put in lines of, hey, is something happening in the Southlands that's driving people north? It is. So I'll conclude here in the next part talking about the Southlands storyline.